This video is for students of IS 566 and will show you how to configure access to your new Cassandra virtual private server. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create the student user. We're going to make that student user a sudoer. Then we're going to add your public key to that student's list of authorized keys so you can log in without supplying a password. And we'll also add Professor Allen's public key to the root user's authorized keys so that he has access to these machines. So step one will be to create, to get logged on to your server so that you can do these steps. So I'm going to log on as using SSH root at my IP address, and of course you'll find that IP address in the console at Cassandra where you created that server. I'll need to supply my password, and we're serious about this password, minimum 14 characters. So let me go ahead and get this typed in. Hopefully I can get it on the first try. Hot dog. So now that I'm logged in, I'm ready to create that student user account. And so for that, we're just going to use the add user statement. So add user, no space, and then the username is student, all lowercase. It's going to ask me for a password. It's going to be a password that you'll have to type every time you want to elevate permissions to be able to do something with root level access. So it'll be something that you're able to type relatively well. So we'll put in a password that I'm somewhat familiar with. Please do go ahead and put your full name in here just so that if I need to look it up when I'm on your machine, I can. But you can leave the rest of these then just blank. Information correct? Yes, it is. Okay, so now I've created that user, but right now it's just an ordinary user, and I need to give it permissions to be able to be a sudoer, to be able to elevate permissions up to root access. So for that, I'm going to modify the user. I'll use the command user mod. I'll give it the parameters, lowercase a, capital G, and the group that I'm putting it into is going to be the sudo group. And then the user I'm modifying here is student. That should make that user a sudoer. So now that should be all created there. Wonderful. So now let's go ahead and add your public key to this user's account. So to do that, I'm going to change into that user's folder. So cd/home/student. And let's go ahead and create, perhaps we should do this as the student user. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and change directories to be that, or change users to be that user. So I will switch user to student. And just check which directory I'm in, pwd. I think I'm in the same place. Yeah, home student. And if I do a listing here, we'll see that it's completely empty. So now let's go ahead and create the .ssh folder to be able to put our public key there to be able to get access to this. So mkdir.ssh, and I'll change directories into that folder. And now I'm going to want to create a file, and I'll just do this with the my editor of choice, which is Nano. And the file that I'm after is called authorized keys. Authorized_keys, all lowercase. So here we're making a new file, authorized keys, and here you're going to want to just copy and paste your authorized key in. So that key, you'll find that key if you're in Windows, just in your, presumably in your user account, under a folder called .ssh. It's the same structure. And if you're on Mac, under Terminal, this will be the same place as well, your home directory, and then there'll be a folder called .ssh. If we do a listing here, we should see that I've got a few files here, but the one I'm interested in is my public RSA file, typically called ID_RSA pub. So I'm just going to open that with Notepad, and you can get it however you would normally work with a text file in Mac if you're a Mac user. So id underscore rsa.pub, and then that will bring that, that'll open up that file so that I can copy it. Let's just bring that up where you can see this here, see part of it here. I'm just going to go ahead and copy that onto my clipboard. So like edit, copy, Control C. And then I'm going to come back to where I'm editing my authorized keys file, and I'm just going to paste it in here. So I've copied that file now, and the text of that file, and pasted it in, and that should give me that authorized keys file. I will save, Control S and Control X will save and exit that file. And now if I do a listing, ls-al, I should see that file, but I'll also notice that I have too much permissions on here. This key file needs to be only accessed by the owner, which is the student user. And so what these permissions here tell me is that the owner has read and write permissions, but so does anyone in the group, and anyone has read permissions. And with a file that open, just for security reasons, we'll want to narrow that down. And so, in fact, I don't even think you can connect on here if you've got those kinds of permissions on the file. It's going to require you to lock it down. So I'm going to chmod, change the mode of the file, and I'm going to tell it I want that to be 600. So 6 will give me read and write permissions for my user. The next 2 zeros tell me the members of my group, and everyone has absolutely no permissions on this file. And it will be the authorized keys file. So now if I do that listing, we'll see that only I have read and write permissions to that file. So I'm going to go ahead and exit now, exit. That takes me out of being the student user back to the root. If I exit again, it should exit off of my SSH connection and take me back to my my Windows machine. So now I'm going to SSH in again, but this time I'm going to SSH as student. And because I've put my public key in the list of authorized keys, I should be able to connect directly without having to put in a password. And so now I've got direct access here. So my last step is going to be to give Professor Allen access to the root user account without having to supply a password. So to do that, I'm going to need to elevate my permissions. So I'm a student right now, so let me sudo, sudo, -i, which will actually change me to that user, to the root user once I authenticate. And so now we'll see I'm the root user, and so I'm ready to go ahead and bring in Professor Allen's key. And so Professor Allen, actually that's me, so I have posted my key online so to make this a little bit easier for you to bring in. And so I'm just going to go ahead and curl that whole URL. And I'm going to give you this URL in the notes on the blog below this video, so you won't have to type that in. But that should give you the ability just to bring that key in. Now, it doesn't do any good just to dump it off to the screen here, and so I'm going to go ahead and use the 2 greater than symbols, which will say we're ready to append that onto an existing file. And the file we want to append it onto is going to be /root. So from the home directory root, and then .ssh, and then authorized keys. Got to be lowercase, actually probably they're authorized keys. And so now we'll go ahead and pull that file using curl, but instead of displaying it to the screen, this symbol here will tell it to append it to authorized keys. And so now we should be able to take a look at that file and see that that's there. So let me just cat, get off my caps lock, cat /root /.ssh/authorized keys. And now we can see that that file, that the information for Professor Allen's public key is there in that file. And that should be all it takes to get configured for access to your new Cassandra server for working on our Cassandra modules.